Hey everyone, I'm Faze Eye for all things mobile, and today I've got a review of the Samsung Smart ATIV 500T Smart Tablet PC. Now that was a mouthful. Alright, so this is actually a kind of a tablet PC, but at the same time it does run the full Windows 8 operating system. It uses an Intel Atom processor, so let's take a quick look around the device. You've got the Samsung logo. You've got an 11.6 inch display with the resolution of 1366 by 768. So it's pretty much your standard laptop display for the most part. You've got speakers here and here. Up top we have quite a few things. You've got a headphone jack, 3.5mm. You've got the power button. We've also got the rotation lock button. Next to that, we actually do have a full-sized USB port, so if you get that open here, it takes a little bit of effort. So you can see that we do have a full-sized USB port there. More to talk about that later. We have a MicroSD expansion slot, as well as a blank slot here. Presumably this is where the SIM card goes for those 3G models. Right now this is the Wi-Fi only model, so I assume that's where it goes. On the bottom, or rather on the front, we also have the Windows icon, which does start up the display. We've also got the special dock connector, as well as these two little holes for hooking in, or rather for securing the smart PC to the keyboard dock. On the bottom, we have the charging port, actually. So here's the charging port. And on the left hand side, let's get it to focus here. You've got a micro HDMI port, I believe this is. Yeah, it's a micro HDMI port. So you can hook this up directly to a television. And it's not focusing, hang on. And also a volume rocker, if you guys can see that, hopefully. Yes, and yeah, so volume rocker up, down, a single key. And you guys can see that it, if you get this flap closed, it does adjust the volume. Okay, and right hand side, we actually have nothing. So it's very sleek, finished. On the front, we have a 2 megapixel camera, right here, which it takes photos in, 2 megapixels, as well as it can take video in 1080p, which is surprising because I initially thought this was a 720p camera, but apparently it shows 1080p in the software. Going over to the back, Samsung logo, LED flash, and an 8 megapixel camera with autofocus. This one does record in 1080p as well. Windows 8 logo and Intel Atom logos there. And you get the model number 500T and a couple other FCC stuff. So that was just a quick hardware look of the Smart ATIV Smart PC 500T. Now there's a difference between this. This is the Canadian model and the US model. The processor in this is clocked at 1.8 gigahertz. I believe many of the US model ones are clocked in at 1.5 gigahertz or so. But the Canadian version does not actually have the S Pen. On the American version, this is where the S Pen would sit. We actually don't have that on the Canadian version, so no S Pen here. So no fun air gestures for us. But anyway, let's get into the operating system. So this is Windows 8. You can see that we've loaded up Internet Explorer on desktop view. So it does have desktop view. And this does prove that it's not running Windows RT. It's actually running the full Windows 8 platform. Press that button, it gets us back to, it's kind of our menu button. So you can see the start menu. You can see it does run the Windows 8 apps pretty well. So if you go into Internet Explorer, for instance, it'll open up in the Metrofy view, as I like to say it. And it does take advantage of the bezel area. So swipe down, brings up the tabs, for instance, in this application or program. Bing, let's go Bing. Swipe from the side, you bring up the Charms bar, as well as you get a quick access to start again and other settings, just like how you would in Windows 8. This this gesture from the left hand side, it brings out this bar of currently open applications, and Windows 8 handles program switching a little bit differently. It's not as easy as having a taskbar, because you do have different types of programs. You have programs that run in this view, but as well as programs that run in the Metro view, like this. So that's why this taskbar is here. That's why the taskbar is here, and you can access all your running programs through there. Now, in terms of performance, I'm actually quite impressed with the 1.8 gigahertz Intel Atom-based processor they used here. You can see that it goes through the OS pretty zippy, and we can start something like maps, for instance. We can start maps, for instance, and it will locate us pretty quickly. So allow, and then yeah, it'll locate us pretty quickly. So also the news app, which is this one, they take a little time to load, but that's just for things that need an internet connection. Otherwise, it loads pretty quickly. So if we go into an article, let's see, let's take a look at the top story. Okay, here we go. And you guys can see that that didn't take much time to load. Now granted, we are on a Wi-Fi connection, and the Wi-Fi connection here is 30 megabit connection, so that probably has a little bit to do with it, but in general, it's pretty speedy. The one thing that I did say about performance is when you're playing HD videos in full 1080p, it works, but certain file formats like MKV aren't supported yet, so you might have to just download a codec pack for the Windows Media Player, which I believe is actually not even on this, if I remember correctly. Windows Media Player. Yeah, so we don't even have Windows Media Player, but we do have Cyberlink, interestingly enough. And also, yeah, the native video app now, it's called. Now, you may be wondering what purpose does this serve, because it's not really a tablet. It's kind of a tablet and a PC at the same time, because tablet, since, you know, it runs Windows 8, but it runs the Metro version of it as well, but not really a full laptop, because, well, it's using the Intel Atom processor, so it's kind of like a netbook in some ways. Well, to be quite honest, it's kind of one of those intermediates, and so yeah, it's kind of an intermediate, and it's great for people who are always on the go, but they want something a little bit less powerful than a netbook. Something they can carry around, a tablet, yes, but if they do quite a bit of typing, or they like a physical keyboard, an on-screen keyboard might not be the best for them. And I'll show you what the on-screen keyboard on the Samsung here looks like. We can pull that up by pressing that button down there, and you guys can see that this is the keyboard. So press and hold for alternate views. So E typically has a few alternate views, and yeah. And we can always open a new tab, go to Google, why not, hide the keyboard, and we can type in, let's type in Samsung. Oops. Samsung, and then enter, and yeah, so it searches. So I mean, you know, relatively quick, like I mentioned, and you know, you may not like the on-screen keyboard, so that's why there's also this. We've got this keyboard dock that I was talking about, which includes a keyboard. Yeah, this is the Canadian style keyboard, and quite frankly, personally, I actually don't like the Canadian style keyboard, but you know, I am Canadian, so because we have a few extra buttons on the Canadian style keyboard, namely this one here, which gets really annoying because all my personal computers, laptops have all had the regular shift key, the shift key that takes up these two spaces. With a Canadian style keyboard, this is a new button. We have a few more buttons, and this is one of them. There's a couple others, like this one here, for instance, which doesn't really annoy me too much, but this one irritates me very much. But that's just a personal thing. But if you're used to the Canadian style keyboard, this shouldn't bother you at all. It's going to be exactly the same, as well as it includes a trackpad. So, and to dock it, this is what you got to do. This is flexible, it moves in and out, so you kind of have to just set it in the middle here. You hear clicks. Now it's docked, and also you do get a little sound and a notification here that the keyboard is docked. And you know, keyboard works. So if I want to type in, let's say all things mobile, oops, okay. Yeah, again, KSL keyboard. And we can do the keyboard, we can do trackpad gestures. So you guys can see this, that if I use 2 fingers on trackpad, if I use 2 fingers on a trackpad, it will scroll the web page. So trackpad works, keyboard's quite nice. It's actually a very nice size. Due to the 11.6-inch screen here, it gives you quite a bit of real estate for that. So let's pull this in a little bit closer again. And let's fix this. So, I mean, overall, what are my thoughts on this device? Well, you've got the good hardware. You've got some decent hardware, actually. The Intel Atom 1.8 GHz processor. The RAM is 2 GB. You do have expandable storage, so you do have the micro SD card there. But you also have 64 GB of storage built in. It's a flash memory storage, which I believe you can actually use about half of that from the get-go. So you've got that. You've also got some pretty decent cameras. Now, video quality isn't the best. It's actually pretty bad. But photos turn out pretty decently. So, you know, you've got that at least. You've got a nice webcam for Skype or whatnot, or any other video chatting services. It's a great device just to, you know, check your email, go on the road, have something to type with, and the battery life is great on this device. So, you know, I've been using it for the last month and a little bit. So, and I've actually, you know, carried this on campus, the university, and it's been fine. So battery life is phenomenal on this device, and that's one thing that it really has going for it, because a lot of these laptops don't have great battery life. I mean, the MacBooks do last quite a while, usually 6 to 8 hours with moderate usage, but this one can go 11, 12 hours, and you know, it'd be perfectly fine. With mixed moderate usage, you can probably go over that. So it's great for those people who are always on the road and who need the physical keyboard, but who don't want a very or who don't want a netbook because they can be a little clunky. You've got a better optimized experience on the ATIV Smart PC here. And yeah, I think that's about it. You can also install legacy programs. Like if you want to install Google Chrome, you could just do that. You could install Google Chrome. If you want to install any apps that are from the Windows Marketplace, you do have that preloaded somewhere here. Here we go. And you can install those apps just fine. So for programs, not too worried. The one thing you have to remember is that for some of the higher end, or not higher, the more demanding programs, you do need to worry. You do need to know that it's not going to run them as well. Even some 1080p videos, they start a little bit, but I mean it's fine. So if you're watching 720p video, you're surfing the web, I've got a couple things open here, and you know it's doing a pretty decent job at opening things and keeping things open. So we've got this open as well. We can actually also go into something else, and like weather maybe. We can actually go into weather and open that up as well. And you know, we've got several things opening. Allow. And the computer itself, you can see that it's not actually slowing down. So yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, really 4. Desktop doesn't count. A few things open. So I mean, overall, what are my impressions? Great little device. It's a great device to have on the go. If you're someone who's looking for something that's like a netbook, but you know, a little bit more better in a sense, a better experience at least, and that runs Windows 8 well, this might very well be a viable option. And currently, now I don't talk about prices very often, and that's because prices change wildly, but if you're in Canada, you can actually get this device up until May something. I forgot what the exact date was, but you can get this device for $499, or was it $599? Yeah, I believe $499. That's what it was. And this thing normally retails for about $699. I believe with the keyboard, yes. So you know, it's great. That's a great deal, and it's gonna last you quite some time. And I personally like the device, But obviously nothing heavy, no heavy gaming, no HD video editing. Photoshop is okay, but anything other than that, then you know, you might want to actually get an Ultrabook. So on face value, generally pretty positive review. Just know the limitations of this device, and I think for that subsect of people who want it, you're going to be fairly happy with this device. On face value, this has been your in-depth look at the Samsung ATIV Smart PC 500T, and I'll see you guys in the next video.